Hello friends! Welcome back to my channel. My name is Danny and today I'm going to go through my December TBR with you all. I am going to do this a little differently than I've been doing my TBRs in the past couple of months, and that's because I would like to give you a 10 before the end list. If you haven't seen this trend going around on social media, this is something that a lot of booktubers, Bookstagram, book talk people have been doing, where they tell their audience what their 10 books that they want to read before the end of the year will be. And so I thought it would be fun to kind of create a TBR. If I had everything that I wanted, which 10 books would I be most excited to read before 2026? I think that this will be a good motivator for me. Do I believe that I will be reading all 10 of these books prior to the end of the year? Probably not, because I do have some obligations, some video ideas that I am in the middle of as well. But if I had everything that I possibly could, these are the 10 books that I would want to read prior to 2026. They're the ones that I am most excited for and most desperate to get to. So I thought it would be a fun way of sharing this list with you guys. While creating this list, I did try and keep in mind some of my goals for the year, so my 25 and 2025, and my series goal and my physical TBR. So I'll start with my physical TBR books. And some of these, actually all of the physical TBR books that I chose are parts of series. And I am putting 3 volumes of manga in one of these spots. I think that this will be a good way of me kind of breaking apart some of the longer reads that I have on this 10 before the end list, and that is the volumes 3, 4, and 5 of Frieren. So I've had these in my collection for a little over a year now, and I haven't gotten to these volumes. I know Frieren has many more volumes other than just the 5 that I have in my possession, but I want to read the ones that I have prior to going out and purchasing more from this series. But if you haven't heard of Frieren, it follows an elf and who is Frieren, and prior to the first volume, she has been at war and has kind of become like the champion of the land that she's in, with a ragtag gang of people that helped her through the trials and tribulations that were the war. And that lasted for about 50 years. Well, because of how long she lives, that 50 years doesn't seem super significant to her, but for the people that she fought with and the bonds that were formed with them, she was a much more significant part of their life. And you kind of get to see her realize that and wonder whether or not she should change how she views people in her life. It's very slow paced, lovely. I have really enjoyed what I've read so far, so I'm excited to get to these volumes. The next physical TBR book that I have is The Strength of the Few. This is a recent addition to my physical collection, and it is the sequel to The Will of the Many, which was my favorite book in 2023. Yes, 2023, and I can't wait. I did reread The Will of the Many this year in preparation for the sequel, so I am primed and ready. I have the audiobook for this, and I obviously have the physical copy as well, and so I plan to immersive read this, and I'm very excited to see where the author takes the series because I have enjoyed my time with it so far. If you haven't heard of The Will of the Many, you are following a main character whose name is Vis, who is an orphan at the very beginning of the story, and he is living in a society that you know he doesn't really want to be a part of. That society has a process that they make all of their citizens go through in order to give their will, which is a magic essentially that is sustained in every single person. But when they give their will to the government, to the people who are in charge, the people at the top of these pyramids, the top of the hierarchy, are the ones who gain all the benefits from their citizens' wills, and Vis does not want to give his away for various reasons that you learn throughout the book. There's a magical school involved as well. There's lots of politics within the government, and there's rivals or rebellions that are happening within the country as well. It's very intriguing, and I loved the way that The Will of the Many ended, and so I'm chomping at the bit to get to this read. The last physical TBR book that I put on this list is one that I had on the scavenger hunt for Bucket Listathon, and that is The Engines of War. This is the third and final book in the Age of Uprising series. The first one was Engines of Empire, and it's a political fantasy that features a whole bunch of different POVs. The first book follows 5 main characters who are all in the same noble family, but they're spread out throughout the kingdom. So you get to see different facets of the kingdom and how their government works amidst some chaos that ends up happening. And I've really, really enjoyed it. It's classic fantasy with a little bit of a modern, I don't want to say modern twist, but it does feel slightly more palatable than some of the classic fantasies that I have read, and I love the characters. So I am curious to see the end of the trilogy, because I'm almost positive that this is the final book in the series, and I don't know where the author is going to go with it. This, out of all of the books that I'm going to mention, I think is the most underrated series. There are not a lot of people that have read it, and I think that's a shame because I've really enjoyed my time with it. So if you're keeping track, so far I have 3 physical TBR. I mean, I suppose you could say that I have 5 if you're counting all 3 volumes of my Fur collection. And I also have all series continuations so far. So I'm going to continue that trend with the next read that I have for you guys, which is Faithbreaker. Faithbreaker is the last book in the God Killer series by Hannah Kaner, and I've really enjoyed the first 2 books. I have been hesitating to pick up Faithbreaker because I have heard this one does focus a little bit more on the military mindset, and I just have not been in the mood for that recently. And so I'm a little worried that this one's not going to be my jam, and that's what has caused me not to pick this one up. This one also is quite chunky compared to the other 2 books in the series, I believe. And so, not that I don't love my chunky reads, but I just think it's a little unusual for the last book to be long when the other 2 books were shorter. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the middle book, I know the first book was only like 300 pages. I can't remember what the middle book was, but anyway, if you haven't heard of God Killer, which is the first book in this series, you are following a set of characters who are in a realm where there are a whole bunch of different gods that control various things, and they are the gods of certain things, like the god of lies or the god of the river, the god of winter, and gods can become more powerful the more humans worship them and look up to them. And so humans are kind of, in a way, in charge of how much power the gods have. And in the past, the gods have had too much power, which has led to some animosity and the seeking out and killing of a whole bunch of gods in this area. And you follow one of the characters who is a god killer. There's so much more to it than that. Hannah Kaner does a really good job of completely immersing you in a very creative world with a whole bunch of interesting characters in a slight number of pages, at least in the first book. So I do want to get back to this because I have really enjoyed my time so far. I'm just a little worried that this ending isn't going to be what I want it to be. So if you guys absolutely love Faithbreaker, I would love to hear from you. Have a little bit of encouraging words so I can complete this series before the end of the year. Another series that I would like to continue with, and this was part of my 25 and 2025, is the Rhaenyra Chronicles. I have not read a single one of these books all year long, and I need to get to The Death of Dulgath is the 3rd book in the series. I think there are 4 books, maybe 5 books total in the series, and so I'm definitely not going to finish it before the end of the year, which is unfortunate because the whole series was on my 25 and 2025, which is fine. If I get to one of them, I will be happy. I absolutely know without a doubt that the reason I haven't gotten to this is because the 3rd book and beyond, the only copies of audiobooks that I have for this series are dramatized versions. And I have learned from the 2nd book in the series, it was something about the rose and the thorn. I can't remember how it was worded, but I'll put a picture up so you guys can see what book I'm talking about. I did listen to the dramatized version of this audiobook, and I almost found it overstimulating. I don't need to hear someone chewing on an apple or a horse neighing in the background. It's too much for me. I need a little bit less information whenever I'm consuming my audiobooks. And so I still really enjoyed the story. I think I ended up rating that one a 4.5 star, but I really wish that I had the tamed down audio, I'll say, because I think I could have enjoyed it more. It might have even been a 5 star. And so that has caused me to slow down on my progression of this series or my progress in the series, because I'm just a little worried that reading them via dramatized audiobook is going to affect or impact my enjoyment. I could just read these physically, but I know that I would rather read the audio because I have really enjoyed kind of getting to see, well, and I guess it changed in the second one. I enjoyed the voices and kind of the emotion surrounding some of the characters within the story that were put into the audiobook, but I don't know if it's worth the risk of the dramatized version. So we'll see, but this is one that I would like to finish before the end of the year. To round out my series continuations for this list, I am going to be adding Brigands and Bread Knives, which is the third book. I'm not quite sure if it's the final book in the Legends and Latte series or if there will be another one that Travis Baldree writes, but for now, it's the last one that was published and I need to get to it. I absolutely love Bookshops and Bone Dust, and I'm excited to have this one. It is a cozy fantasy. Each one has followed a different adventure, I'll call it. So Legends and Lattes, which is the first one, covers an orc who is originally a warrior but decides to hang up her sword and become a barista at a coffee shop and opens up a coffee shop. Each of them, the second book, Bookshops and Bone Dust, is a prequel, and so it still follows Viv, who is the orc, but it follows her in her younger years when she is still a warrior. And the third book, I believe, follows a different character. I don't want to give you too much information just in case you haven't read the other two, but I am hoping that this one gives me the cozy, strong vibes that the other two books have given me. The last four books on this list are books that I am just very excited to get to, and I know I know myself, and every once in a while, especially at the end of the year, I get to the point where I'm like, I just need to do what I want. And these are the books that I want to read regardless of goals and ambitions that I have. And one of those is Red City by Marie Lu. This is an author I've been wanting to give a chance for a really long time, and I am excited about this premise. I think it could be amazing. It talks about an alternate Los Angeles where we have some rival gangs, is what I'm going to call them. They're crime syndicates, and they are competing with different forms of alchemy. I don't really know exactly what that means, what that impacts, but I do know that in both of the crime syndicates, you have a young individual who ends up coming up through the ranks of that crime syndicate, and they are friends, but they have ended up joining different factions. And so you have a little bit of like Romeo and Juliet. I don't know if it's actually a romance, or I haven't read much into it past that point, or if we just have like a friendship that maybe will bring them together, or, you know, completely blow things up in the end. We'll see. But I am excited to get to it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Next, we have a book that I've been waiting months to get to, but I keep suspending my hold because I just don't have time for it at the moment, and that is The Slayers of Old. This was the only thing I know about this book, because I haven't gone back and reread the synopsis after I have found the book to begin with, is that this is touted as Golden Girls meets Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I love an older protagonist. I think that the cover just kind of screams that it's going to be like a fun, vibrant read, and I just think it's not going to take itself too seriously. I'm really excited about this one, and I hope that I haven't hyped it up too much in my head. Next, we have a NetGalley arc that I was graciously given, and it is one that I am very excited about. It's quite chunky. It's a fantasy horror, which is why I ended up requesting it. It's called The Works of Vermin. And the only thing I really know about this is you have a city that is built, I think, over a river, and they have various people within this city, various caste systems. You have like an underbelly of the city, and then the regal like nobility that live in certain areas that are not pestered by literal pests, because one of the characters that we end up following is an exterminator, and I think he ends up biting off a little bit more than he can chew, because he goes after some type of beast, insect, vermin that is in this city that no one else wants to touch because it's extremely dangerous, and you get to follow his path through that. I find it intriguing that we're following an exterminator in a fantasy world. And I love the fact that, so I've already, you know, fair disclosure, I have already read the first couple of chapters of this, and I really enjoyed the descriptions of the city in the prologue. I think that having this city that it was described as a gnarled tree that goes over a river and it has all these vines hanging down, and you have like boats coming in and out that, you know, the vines are important for like import purposes. And I love the way that it was described. You have these flowers that bloom on the side of the city because a lot of it kind of reminded me of The Hanging City, which I ended up not enjoying the ending of, but the descriptions of how they have to cultivate certain things on the side of the city because that's where they can grow things. And that's kind of what this reminded me of, but we'll see how it goes. I look forward to having another fantasy horror to recommend to you guys because so far it does feel like an excellent read. The last book on this list is the only sci-fi I put on this list, which I'm a little shocked by, but it is one that I'm very excited for, and that's called The Merge. This book is about several various couplings of individuals, not necessarily romantic couplings, but you have like a mother and a daughter. I think you have a couple of best friends, and then you do have a husband and wife, and they all are being subject to an experimental treatment called the merge, where they actually meld minds or take a mind. So for instance, one of them I know for a fact is a woman whose mother has Alzheimer's and is losing her mind, and they decide to actually sign up for this experimental treatment, which is called the merge, which can put her mother's mind, into her like healthy body. And so I think they merge into one body, and you get to see the ramifications of that. I don't know how we're going to go from here, like what we're going to explore, if we're going to explore the dangers of this technology, if we're going to be like psychological thriller type of like, you know, bad things happen when we merge people's minds, or if it's going to be more of an exploration of loss and grief. I'm not sure, but I'm excited to find out. So this is the last book that's on my 10 before the end. I would love to hear if you guys have read any of these and you think that I need to prioritize any of them, because as I said at the beginning, I don't know if I'll get to all 10 of them. That's kind of a pipe dream, but they're definitely on my radar, on the top of my list for the books that I want to get to in December. Do you have a 10 before the end list, or just a couple before the end that you are like striving to get through in the last month of the year? I would love to hear that in the comments as well. If you guys are not feeling chatty, but you still want to let me know that you are here, leave me some fire emojis, because this book is on fire, just so I know that you're with me. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a lovely evening, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.